Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. While everybody across the college football landscape is really dialed in to the Lane Kiffin saga, one of the programs that fascinates me the most, Shane Beamer in South Carolina. We got a lot of question marks about this football program that we need answers to. Like most notably, what's the quarterback position going to look like? What's the future of LaNorris Sellers? Who's going to be the next offensive coordinator? I've been very vocal that the offensive coordinator hire that Shane Beamer's about to make, it's going to make or break his tenure. If he gets this offensive coordinator hire right, like there's a good chance that South Carolina can win a lot of football games in 2026. If he gets it wrong, of which he's gotten the last couple of wrong, you're probably looking at South Carolina trying to find a new head coach after 2026. I think the best way to describe South Carolina in this particular offseason is, I don't want to use the term desperation. Sense of urgency is probably the best term. And that is, hey, we had a lot of high expectations for this football team in 2025. Those expectations were very clearly not met. Shane Beamer knows he needs to win games in 2026 if he wants to keep his job here at South Carolina. And I think you're going to see that sense of urgency reflected in his actions. You're going to see this team get aggressive in terms of making sure they fix the problems on this roster to be back competitive in 2026. We're going to start with the offensive coordinator candidate that seems to be generating a lot of buzz. That's John David Baker. Talk about the future of LaNorris Sellers. I think I have some unique takes on that situation. And then I also want to open it up and say, what are some portal needs? Like, where does this South Carolina roster sit? What needs to get addressed? Because you best believe it's not just about quarterback and OC. Like, there are some other problems specifically on offense that we need to get addressed rolling into 2026 as well. Before we get into it, as always, as South Carolina fans, number one, appreciate you guys. There's been an incredible amount of support from this fan base over the last 12 months, even when it was not going as smooth as we thought it was going to be in 2025. So number one, can't thank you guys enough. Number two, buckle in. It's going to be in my opinion, a very busy offseason for South Carolina. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now let's talk about what's seemingly the most buzz around an offensive coordinator candidate. That's John David Baker. If a and I'll put my hand up real quick and say, I don't know if he'd be my first hire, right? Many of y'all know I look at Bobby Petrino at Arkansas. I look at Gus Malzahn potentially being a free agent at Florida State and say, to me, I know there might be some baggage, especially with a guy like Bobby Petrino. I think they're probably the two best offensive coordinator hires that would be on the market. Gus Malzahn specifically intrigues me because he did at Florida State what you're looking for what you're looking to see happen at South Carolina. And what I mean by that is a miserable offense that was really bad in almost every facet of the game and do a one off-season turnaround. Because that's where Florida State was. Florida State had the worst offense in the Power 4 back in 2024. Gus Malzahn comes in. Gus Malzahn brings his offensive line coach, and all of a sudden, Florida State's offense, I'm not going to get up here and say it was a top 10 offense in the country, but it was a very serviceable offense, right? Those are probably my two favorite hires. I don't hate John David Baker at all. And I think I think this excites a lot of South Carolina fans, young energy, right? I mean, the knock with Gus Malzahn and Bobby Petrino is how Gus Malzahn feels like he's kind of got one foot in retirement, right? John David Baker is a hungry young football coach. Most notably, he's a consensus good hire. And what I mean by that is Shane Beamer has made a lot of hires that a lot of people in the national media, a lot of people in the coaching landscape looked at and said, I don't know. Like even Mike Shula. Mike Shula made sense in the moment, but there was not a ton of track record. Mike Shula is a great college football offensive coordinator. Say a very similar thing for Coach Sapp. Can say even a similar thing for Dowell Loggins as well. When you talk about John David Baker for the first time in Shane Beamer's tenure, we're looking at a potential offensive coordinator hire that everybody looks at and says, yeah, Makes sense. This guy's a really good offensive mind who knows how to call an offense and knows how to get the best out of his quarterbacks. What I love most about him is really good relationship with Lane Kiffin. And there was a lot of love there. And I'm not necessarily saying that because of Lane Kiffin as the person, but I'm saying that Lane Kiffin as the coach. Like Lane Kiffin thought very highly of John David Baker and what he does calling and designing an offense. When you look at John David Baker at East Carolina, there's a couple of things that really stand out. Is number one, hey, 31.5 points per game, top 25 scoring offense in the country. Like at the end of the day, I don't care how you do it. Are you putting points up on the scoreboard? John David Baker does. The thing that fascinates me the most is not only what he's done with Caden Hauser at East Carolina, who's having a phenomenal season, but how easy he makes this offense for quarterbacks. The ball gets out really quick. He's really good at giving his quarterbacks easy and quick answers to get them into a rhythm. Like, what's the biggest knock we have on the South Carolina offense? Not only this year, but really the last couple. You can go back to South Carolina in 2024 when they were scoring points. There was not a ton of rhythm. It was just like we're relying on LaNorris Sellers to be a superhero, right? You watch John David Baker at ECU and say the ball's out really quick. How about this? Caden Hauser's average time to throw at ECU this year, 2.33 seconds. One of the fastest in the country. You want to compare that to LaNorris Sellers this year? LaNorris Sellers was at 3.15. I mean, damn near a second faster of release time to throw at ECU. That tells me, number one, credit Caden Hauser. Number two, credit who's calling his plays. Like, hey, we're giving you easy answers. We're making your life easy. It's the number one job. You make your quarterback's life easy as a play caller, chances are you're going to be scoring points. Nice balance in the offense too, which I think is important. I think it's really, really hard to have an offense in the SEC that is one-dimensional. Now, South Carolina figured that out this year, couldn't run the football, dropping back and throwing a lot. And it's hard to have a one-dimensional offense in this conference and hold up in pass protection. With the kind of pass rushes you see every single Saturday in this conference, you have to have the ability to run the football. It's not like John David Baker is elite at running the football by any means, but he knows how to do it. He knows how to lean into it. He knows how to slow down a pass rush. There's a lot to like here about John David Baker and a little bit of a different flavor, like young, hungry, offensive-minded coach here. Now, here's the second storyline. That's the future of what this roster is going to look like, most notably LaNorris Sellers. And I'm on the message boards. I know there's some sentiment about maybe it's just time to move on from LaNorris Sellers. Like, it makes sense maybe for South Carolina, but also might make sense for LaNorris Sellers, right? And I get that frame of thinking. If I'm South Carolina, I'm trying to keep LaNorris Sellers. I to me feel strongly about that too, for two different reasons. Number one, there's not another quarterback on this roster that is screaming that they're going to come in and win games. And I tried to highlight the names in red that are going to be leaving this South Carolina offense, so we have a better picture of the positions we need to address, right? The names highlighted in blue are the guys that I think you should try to keep, but they're going to have options to go to the NFL, most notably LaNorris and Nick Harper, right? Luke Doty should be highlighted in red. He's not going to be back. I think he's been in college for 7 years at this point. Two things. Number one, there's just not an obvious answer at quarterback on this roster. I know we've heard some good things from Cutter Woods, and I know Aaron Noland was a very fun name coming out of high school. Neither of them have showed you their quarterbacks that can win in the SEC yet. I'm not sure what's going to be in the transfer portal. And I think the other concern is I'm not sure how attractive South Carolina is going to be for quarterbacks to come. Because I look at it and say, like, it just was so disappointing, and the offensive line was so bad, and the offense was so bad. You have to go find a quarterback in the portal. What's that market going to look like? And you have a guy that is, number one, been at this program for the last 3 years, that we think can be one of the most talented and best quarterbacks in the country, given the right situation. To me, if I'm Shane Beamer, I'm doing everything I can to make sure I keep LaNorris Sellers. And if you can do that, even making the offensive coordinator hire is going to get a little easier. Like, there's going to be a lot of offensive coordinators that would line up outside Shane Beamer's office to get a chance to coach LaNorris Sellers. I think you're bringing back for one more year. I think you do everything you can, just because I'm not really sure what the options are going to be if you don't. Wide receiver, I feel good about, man. If you can keep Nick Harper, but even if you can't, I mean Donovan Murph and Jaden Sellers and Brian Rowan, Vandrevius Jacobs. To me, as we got to see them more get opportunities, I was impressed with the playmaking ability we have from these wide receivers. Maybe you go grab one in the portal, but I feel good about this position. Here's the other storyline that it's inherently going to be put on the back burner because the two biggest storylines are offensive play caller and quarterback. None of that crap matters if we don't fix this offensive line, right? It's an academic conversation to keep LaNorris. If you don't fix what's in front of LaNorris Sellers, it does not matter if he comes back and you can go out and get Lincoln Riley to come call this offense. You cannot win in this conference without at least an average offensive line. We're not there. We're not even close to there. So, like, number one, who's the offensive line coach going to be? Is it going to be Sean Elliott? Are we confident? I'll say this. I feel like the offensive line got better when Sean Elliott took over. I don't know if it was remarkably better, but I think it might have got better. I don't think I would have hated the Sean Elliott promoted to offensive line coach. We need more personnel though. And it's like, look, can Josiah Thompson be a can Josiah Thompson get back on track next year as a year three tackle? Yeah, probably. Did Shed Surratt show some good things as a true freshman? Probably. Trevon Boss showed some good things that time. To me, if I'm Shane Beamer, I'm bringing in proven power four bodies on the offensive line to create some competition. Like nobody has earned their spot to be a guaranteed starter in 2026 from this unit in 2025. I think you need to allocate some serious resources to what you're doing on the offensive line. That's why I think it's really crucial. Hey, we got to get our offensive coordinator figured out. And then we got to get our offensive line coach figured out. And then we got to start evaluating these bodies that are going to be in the portal. Defensive side of the football, look, there's just a couple of positions because you look at a linebacker, I feel really good about the linebacker room next year. In the secondary, I feel pretty dang good too. If you can keep Brandon Sissy for one more year, excuse me, feel pretty good. Defensive line, you lose Monkel Goodwin, you lose Nick Barrett, and I mean, shout out again. I really do like this South Carolina defensive coaching staff. Right, I think you've seen a lot of player development. The frustrating part for a lot of South Carolina fans, this was our concern, right? Were we going to be good enough in the inside of that defensive line? Were we going to be good enough on defense? Period. You were. Just the offense just did not take the step. In fact, it got worse in 2025. Got to replace Monkel Goodwin. Got to replace Nick Barrett. I think Troy Pike's a ball player. Brownlood Dindy's a ball player. I know there's some positive buzz around what Xavier Hardy can be. We need a few more bodies on this defensive line. And if we do that, defense should be solid next year. So again, I look at this and say you just got a couple of things to get right, but you have to get them right. And got to get quarterback right, whether that's LaNorris Sellers, whether that's somebody else. Got to get play caller right, got to get offensive line right. If you get those three things right, there's reason to believe this team takes a big jump in 2026. They are hard things to get right, right? And there ain't no doubt about that. But if you do, this team can get better. We'll have this conversation. We'll probably talk about some guys who are in the portal that we think are intriguing. Got a lot to talk about. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.